From basing in 2014 and the final lap drama to the first ever Formula E World Champion Nelson Piquet Jr., from the introduction of the Gen 2 car in the attack mode to the arrival of teams like Nissan, BMW, Porsche and Mercedes, Formula E has come a long way, becoming an attractive sport to both teams and drivers around the world. Today, we're going to be exploring the Formula E evolution through my favorite team and its official Formula E DLCs, Air Factor 2. Let's do this! Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for another video based on Air Factor 2. Now if you find this type of videos interesting, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that bell to not miss any future videos. Starting off, I remember myself deeply disappointed in 2014 by the Formula 1 season, which coincidentally was the first Formula 1 hybrid season, waiting for the arrival of that new sport by the name of Formula E. Electrical, street racing, it had all the resources to fail. But why did it not? Well, the first season saw the cars being the same with little to none innovations. The season ended up providing us with 7 different winners, multiple pole sitters, amazing on-track action and an unexpected champion in the final race of the season. The sport would continue to give us thrillers, especially in the next season where the championship was once again decided in the final race with only 2 points separating Buemi from Di Grassi, both former F1 drivers that never had a chance in top tier teams. Well, the car we're driving in this race around Hong Kong is the 2017 car, which had some differences in comparison to the 2014 cars, mostly aerodynamic changes, and it was the last car to not have a halo installed and looked overly like an open wheeler. These cars were able to provide with good racing with the energy boost called Fun Boost, which was something given to the top 5 voted drivers by the fans in every single race. Imagine this something like an overtake button given only to 5 drivers in each race. Some might find that interesting, some might find it stupid, but overall it helped out in overtaking massively. Watching a Formula E race is never boring. There's always overtakes despite the narrowness of the tracks, and there's always the chance someone might run out of the battery and lose victory right at the finish line, just like we've seen in Mexico a few years ago. Moving on in 2018, and it was time for a big change. The Gen 2 car was introduced having 50 kilowatts more, making it reach higher top speeds and a better energy consumption system. Not to mention the futuristic look the cars now had, which personally I'm not a big fan of. All these factors attracted manufacturers like Mercedes, who would still run Venturi powertrains, Nissan, who would unfortunately replace the successful Renault Idem's team, which wanted to focus in Formula 1, and BMW, who would partner with Andretti. Obviously, that attracted drivers like Felipe Massa, Pascal Wehrlein and Felipe Nasr, all former talented F1 drivers who were unfortunately left without a seat because of the political games played behind the scenes in Formula 1. The more teams and drivers were coming, the more the excitement for Formula E, as in 2019 with the official arrival of Mercedes and Porsche as well joining in the party, a new system was as well introduced back in 2018 called Attack Mode. This system, in contrast to Fun Boost, is available on Air Factor 2 on all the official DLC tracks, but I'll be making a separate video on the quality of those DLCs. The way Attack Mode works is by compromising your racing line in order to go through a specific line on each track in order to gain an extra 35 kilowatts of power to use for a few laps in comparison to 25 kilowatts back in 2018, which will obviously help you overtake easily and in general just be faster. The number, duration and the minimum amount of times drivers can arm it is decided by the FIA 1 hour before the race, making the strategies and as a result the race even more unpredictable. Despite the COVID situation, 2019 was a successful season for the sport, with so many things happening on and off the track. At the end of it, Antonio Felix da Costa was crowned the champion after so many years in the sport and so many talented and phenomenal performances. He would finally be crowned the champion of 2019 in Formula E. Finally, 2020 made the cars even better, removing any available gear they had and allowing the drivers to never shift up or down again. The only available gear, as you can see also from the footage, was first and neutral, and from my point of view, made the handling and general driving feeling of the cars massively better. technical changes were not made and new teams have not entered in 2020, and despite that, we are about to witness a mathematically possible 11 driver fight for the World Championship. Yes, you've heard that right, 11 drivers have currently, like the guy in 11th, which is Pascal Wehrlein, has 25 points gap from the leader of the championship, heading into the doubleheader of Berlin. Being realistic though, it is most likely going to be decided between the Mercedes driver and GP2 champion Nick de Vries and Jaguar driver, you might have heard of him as well, Robin Frins, in the final doubleheader race in Berlin. Personally, I'm supporting Jaguar. I don't know if anyone cares about that, but I'm a huge Jaguar fan. I'm very sad that they've left Formula 1 and never had a success story. But now that they're in Formula E, they're doing quite well. And after like around 3 to 4 years in the sport, they're finally fighting for the first ever Drivers' Championship. So I'm really hoping for them to happen. And obviously Mercedes are also fighting for their first ever championship. So very, very interesting season so far, despite being a pretty stable one in terms of like changes. And in this video, I want to admit I'm a fan of Formula E because of the racing and unpredictability it provides in every race, the innovations and new heights it reaches every season, and because of how close the field is every year. Don't get me wrong, I hate the sound as well, you're not the only one, but you can't take away from them that they did what the fans have been shouting for all these years. Close racing with multiple manufacturers, unpredictable races, new drivers signing, new teams having a shot at the championship, and final race championship deciding moments. If there's one thing that I don't really like about Formula E is that I would love to see them racing around racetracks. I think it would make the racing even better. I know the whole thing is about, driving around cities, proving that this is environmentally friendly, but obviously I think just like they are testing their cars around real-life tracks, like street and not street circuits, I think we should have at least one race on a proper racetrack once every season. One more thing that I don't really like is how many sort of like small and privateer manufacturers have left just because of the new big guns joining in, like BMW, Porsche, Mercedes. Back then we truly had a privateer team in the first season. We had Andretti, we had Venturi, who have now, pretty much Venturi has left. Andretti is in partnership with BMW, they're not a separate team. The only sort of privateer team that is still out there but has a pretty decent badge and a very good drivers is Mahindra, which is an Indian team, and they're probably not going to leave the sport anytime soon because they're still a very, very decent team. They got great drivers and they're just fighting for victories every now and then. But for example, the Chinese team called the Neo has been sold, and if you remember back in the day, Nelson Piquet in the first ever Formula E season was the champion with that team. So after that, Nelson Piquet has completely dropped off, Neo has dropped off, and it's just a bit of a sad story. I love the fact that we've got manufacturers joining in like Porsche, BMW, Jaguar, all this Audi. We've got Audi, which has been dominant for so many seasons. Not dominant, has been up there for so many seasons with the Grassi. It's great to see the relationship between drivers and teams and new teams joining in, but in all honesty, I miss the older privateer, sort of smaller teams that we used to have, and hopefully we will have more in the future, which I highly doubt though, because I think more and more manufacturers will be joining in, which is good because the competition is still close. Because we're probably not missing out on anything. It's just sort of like the psychological factor, which is starting a little bit, but. Either way, that was it for today, guys. If you enjoyed, smash the like button. Make sure you tell me down in the comments below. I really want to have a conversation with you about Formula E. How do you watch it? How do you find it? What's your opinion on it? And yeah, all these beautiful things. Subscribe to the channel, haven't already. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you share it with any of your friends that are interested in learning about Formula E, or just are fans of Formula E, so that we can have a nice little conversation in the comments. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord server. You want to chat with me furtherly about this fact, about this sort of things that we've talked about in this video, or anything else that you have a question, just join the Discord server, hop in there, ask me the question, and I'm there available to answer it to you. Follow me on Twitter as well, because I'm very active there. And until next video, boys, which is going to be after I return from my holidays, which could probably be again about Formula E if you actually saw enough support on this video. I'll catch you later. Goodbye.